of Kurtz in the philosophy department at University of Buffalo. And he was lying to me. How we got there, what, I don't know. But the very first meeting we had after we organized, Randy gave a talk on Dirty Geller, and he bent keys and he bent spoons. He did a good job as usual. And Professor Zimmerman got up. Remember, one of our original founding members gets up and he says, Randy, you're very unethical. I object completely to what you just did. You bent those keys, you bent those spoons, and you claimed you did it by trickery, but you didn't explain how you did it by trickery. And I think you did it psychically, and you were unethical to say you did it by trickery. So there was already, I knew we were in trouble, because we had vetted him, I figured out, and he disappeared. I don't know whether someone got rid of him quickly, but he disappeared, never saw him again in the executive council. And I think he made me realize he was in the wrong council. Something like that. He made him disappear himself. But anyways, and then the very first organization, meeting after our organization, just after we published the first issue of the Skeptic Inquirer, we met, we had this meeting, and suddenly, Schultze says, they're upset because people saw this first issue, and there is this article, the very first article is a critique of Kurtz and astrology, and people saying, what's that article doing in our first issue? Why is it there? And Schultze said, of course it should be there. Remember, our journal is supposed to, and our goal is to create a dialogue between believers and non-believers. And this journal should be a journal which half of it should be for give a voice to the skeptics and half to the believers. And everyone else was aghast. Poor Phil Glass was going to have a heart attack right then and there. This is the first time we're learning what some of us are trying to do. And the other thing Schultze said, and also this should be a journal, it's going to be a scholarly journal, it's going to be an academic journal. And the others said, no, we want to talk to the public, to the regular world. We want a journal that's going to reach the public. And Schultze says, oh, no, it's going to be academic. And we go on to some other things. Schultze had some other ideas about things which certainly were right opposite of what many other members had. But then things got even worse. We had another member, I won't mention any names anymore, who his idea, and he didn't come out until because no one had specified what they wanted to do. His idea is that what I would call militant skepticism. His idea is we go around bashing the people there. And he literally, at one time, he called the president of the University of Toronto at 3 p.m. his time, 3 a.m., I'm sorry, woke him up and berated him because this president of the University of Toronto had not invited our member to be a part of a panel that was being run at the University of Toronto, and he was the world's expert, and that guy should have invited him. And as a result, he got berated. Then a major reporter who was a big supporter of Psychop, a major reporter in Canada, got hold of our, should I mention his name? Anyways, he got hold of him and said, asked him what about the story there, and then he bawled her out too. He break it down, and he made an enemy out of her. And we had other problems with it. But none of this, I'm saying that a lot of this could have been avoided if right at the very first we vetted each other. We said, what are we trying to do? In fact, we would have quickly found out that some of us have such extreme views that they don't go with others. They're too far out. Okay, so I can go into some other things like that, but let me just tell you what I want my bottom line to be, the message I want to carry out here. We have been in business for at least 37 years, and we have one goal that seems to be we all agree to is that we support the scientific method. We like to get evidence and base it on objectivity and science and stuff like that. But at no time do I know of that, as after 37 years, I do not know of any evidence at all that would meet scientific criteria to show that we've had any kind of impact. Now I say any kind of impact because we may be having some impacts, but not the kind of impacts we want to have. But we don't even know we have any. And my feeling, my hope is, my plea is, because in another 37 years I certainly won't be around, that we try to do something, at least try and do something, to begin to find ways of measuring and what we're doing, and by scientific methods. The very attempt to do that means we're going to have to spell out what we're trying to do, what kinds of goals we want to have, long range, short range. Do we see our task as informing, or being a resource, or persuading, or even proselytizing? Where are we? Are we trying to do all these things? What are we trying to accomplish? And how can we operationalize criteria for checking out how well we're doing? Now, I know this is a very difficult thing to do, it'll be extremely difficult, but my model is what the Germans, what the Americans, what the British did during World War II. They kept coming across situations where they wanted to answer questions